Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, good morning, good morning. OG Truth Talk. Got another live for you guys. I think it's very interesting live. Think you guys will enjoy it. Think you guys will enjoy this video. It's very educational. It's very educational. It's an educational video I'm bringing to you guys. Just to show you guys how all this shit began, man. You know, because you have some people wondering, well, why is our community like it is, and black people ever get together, and all that. But it's a reason why everything is the way it is today. It's a reason why everything was planned for it to be this way. So this what I'm gonna play for you guys gonna explain a lot of things that I'm talking about. This is the Willie Lynch letter and the making of a slave. From I.A. Lewis from his podcast. This was taped 10 years ago, so I don't know if he's still on there. I would tell you to subscribe, but I don't know if he's still on YouTube. But this is the Willie Lynch letter, the making of a slave. Willie Lynch was like a Western Indian from the West Indies who also owned slaves, and he was called, where he gave up his well, let me see. How can I put it? He volunteered his information to the slave owners in Virginia on how to handle their slaves and how to keep them in control. And if you listen to the letters that he gave them, you will see a lot of things that are occurring today that was planted way back during slavery time. Now, mind you, this was back in 1712. This was in 1712. And this is the letter he read to the slave owners on how to control their slaves. So I want you guys just to listen to this, and I want you to just listen and see how everything that he had in that letter pertains to today. So like I say, this is the Willie Lynch letter, the making of a slave. So let's listen, y'all.
You are about to hear the Willie Lynch letter and the making of a slave, read by Ronald Eastwood. Contents. Chapter 1, Greetings. Chapter 2, Let's Make a Slave. Chapter 3, Cardinal Principles for Making a Negro. Chapter 4, The Breaking Process of the African Woman. Chapter 5, The Negro Marriage Unit. Chapter 6, Controlled Language. This speech was delivered by Willie Lynch on the bank of the James River in the colony of Virginia in 1712. Lynch was a British slave owner in the West Indies. He was invited to the colony of Virginia in 1712 to teach his methods to slave owners there. The term lynching is derived from his name. Greetings. Gentlemen, I greet you here on the bank of the James River in the year of our Lord 1712. First, I should thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here. I am here to help you solve some of your problems with slaves. Your invitation reached me on my modest plantation in the West Indies, where I have experimented with some of the newest and still have the oldest methods for control of slaves. Ancient Rome would envy us if my program is implemented. As our boat sailed south on the James River, named for our illustrious king, whose version of the Bible we cherish, I saw enough to know that your problem is not unique. While Rome used cords of wood as crosses for standing human beings along its highways in great numbers, you are here using the tree and the rope on occasions. I caught the whiff of a dead slave hanging from a tree a couple of miles back. You are not only losing valuable stock by hangings, you are having uprisings. Slaves are running away. Your crops are sometimes left in the fields too long for maximum profit. You suffer occasional fires. Your animals are killed. Gentlemen, you know what your problems are.
See, the slave owners really didn't know how to handle the slaves. So they needed this guy, Willie Lynch, to come and teach them how to handle the slave. Because, see, slavery was nothing but about economics. That's all slavery was. They used slavery to build the United States, free labor. That's what slavery was, free labor. You know, they used the slaves to build, to develop everything. You know, they made their money off the back of slaves. And, you know, they knew they had some rebellious slaves. So they needed to find a way how to control all of them, to keep them all in line. So Willie Lynch had came to offer them his method that he learned on how to control the slaves. Let's continue.
I do not need to elaborate. I am not here to enumerate your problem. I am here to introduce you to a method of solving them. In my bag here, I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if you installed it correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take them differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes.
See, fear, envy, and distrust. They felt that they brought fear, envy, and distrust to the slaves. They'll be able to control them. So this is the advice that he gave them.
These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about it. On top of my list is age, but it's there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. There's intelligence, size, sex, sizes of plantations, status on plantations, attitude of owners, whether the slaves live in the valley, on a hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or is tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. The black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male, and the young black male against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks. But it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. Gentlemen, these kits are your keys to control.
See, they figured a way to control them is to have the slaves, look up to the slave owners. To look up to the slave owners. They knew to divide the old males to the young males to the old males. Set it up where they can not like each other, don't respect each other. See, all this was planted in us by the slave owners to divide us. Because they figured before Willie Lynch came and did what he did, they couldn't control their slaves. They had too many slaves that were rebellious. A lot of slaves didn't settle for being slaves. A lot of slaves were rebellious. But see, they didn't know how to control those. Because see, by the slaves being rebellious as they were, that messed up their economic, messed up their money. See, so they had to figure out a way how to control their slaves, where they can make their money. Let's continue.
Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. If used intensely for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's Make a Slave by the Black Arcade Liberation Library. It was the interest and business of slaveholders to study human nature, and the slave nature in particular, with a view to practical results. I and many of them attained astonishing proficiency in this direction. They had to deal not with earth, wood, and stone, but with men, and by every regard they had for their own safety and prosperity, they needed to know the material on which they were to work. Conscious of the injustice and wrong they were every hour perpetuating, and knowing what they themselves would do. Were they the victims of such wrongs? They were constantly looking for the first signs of the dreaded retribution. They watched, therefore, with skilled and practiced eyes, and learned to read with great accuracy the state of mind and heart of the slave through his sable face. Unusual sobriety, apparent abstractions, sullenness, and indifference, indeed any mood out of the common, was afforded ground for suspicion and inquiry. Frederick Douglass. Let's Make a Slave is a study of the scientific process of man-breaking and slave-making. It describes the rationale and results of the Anglo-Saxons' ideas and methods of ensuring the master-slave relationship. The origin and development of a social being called the Negro.
Now, this part, he's teaching the slave owners how to treat his Negro slaves. So he's going to give pointers to how to treat their slaves and how to control them. Let's continue.
Let us make a slave. What do we need? First of all, we need a black nigger man. a pregnant nigger woman, and her baby nigger boy. Second, we will use the same basic principle that we use in breaking a horse, combined with some more sustaining factors. What we do with horses is that we break them from one form of life to another. That is, we reduce them from their natural state in nature. Whereas nature provides them with the natural capacity to take care of their offspring, we break that natural string of independence from them, and thereby create a dependency status, so that we may be able to get from them useful production for our business and pleasure.
See, that's just like how I mentioned in my last video how families from the South move to the North for better economic, a better way of life and jobs. So in time, see, Black people were becoming too independent, So the only way they knew to control Blacks later on, is to take away their economic or take away their comfortability. See, make them dependent on them. Just like today, the government is not making it good for the poor or Blacks. They put it in a way to make it dependent on them, like welfare and all shit like that. So it's making us depend on them instead of us going out to get it on our own. That's why I say all this stuff that's going on today was planned a long time ago. Let's continue.
Cardinal principles for making a Negro. For fear that our future generations may not understand the principles of breaking both of the beasts together, the nigger and the horse, we understand that short-range planning economics results in periodic economic chaos, so that to avoid turmoil in the economy, it requires us to have breadth and depth in long-range comprehensive planning, articulating both skill-sharp perceptions. We lay down the following principles for long-range comprehensive economic planning. 1. Both horse and niggers is no good to the economy in the wild or natural state. 2. Both must be broken and tied together for orderly production. 3. For orderly future, special and particular attention must be paid to the female and the youngest offspring. 4. Both must be crossbred to produce a variety and a division of labor. 5. Both must be taught to respond to you in a peculiar new language. 6. Psychological and physical instruction of containment must be created for both. We hold the 6 cardinal principles as truth to be self-evident.
Now, the strength of the language. See, Black folk, we're not speaking our natural language. That was stripped from us during slavery. A lot of things were stripped from the slaves, like religion and all, everything that we knew of before we became slaves. But all that was stripped from us to fit the slave master ideology. See, they wanted us to have, think of them as the high power or, someone that we depend on, someone that we can go to, someone that we can trust. We can't trust the other slave, but we can trust him. That's how they made us. Let's continue.
Based upon the following discourse concerning the economics of breaking and tying the horse and the nigger together, all inclusive of the 6 principles laid down about. Accordingly, both a wild horse and a wild or natural nigger are dangerous, even if captured, for they will have the tendency to seek their customary freedom, and in doing so might kill you in your sleep. You cannot rest. They sleep while you are awake, and are awake while you are asleep. They are dangerous near the family house, and it requires too much labor to watch them away from the house. Above all, you cannot get them to work in this natural state. Hence, both the horse and the nigger must be broken. That is, breaking them from one form of mental life to another. Keep the body and take the mind. In other words, break the will to resist.
See, they used the slave body for the labor because they needed, the labor, but they knew if they captured their mind, they knew they'd have them. They have them under control. Because you got to capture a person's mind to control them. If you get a person's mind, you can control them. And that's basically what Willie Lynch is telling the slave owners. You have to control their mind. You have to somehow divide them. Because in reality, together, they're too strong. Like I said, you had a lot of slaves that was rebellious to slavery. They didn't want to be slaves. So like I said, they had to, find a way to control them. Because they was losing money. Let's continue.
Now the breaking process is the same for both the horse and the nigger, only slightly varying in degrees. But as we said before, there is an art in long-range economic planning. You must keep your eye and thoughts on the female and the offspring of the horse and the nigger. A brief discourse in offspring development will shed light on the key to sound economic principles. Pay little attention to the generation of original breaking, but concentrate on future generations. Therefore, if you break the female mother, she will break the offspring in its early years of development. And when the offspring is old enough to work, she will deliver it up to you, for her normal female protective tendencies will have been lost in the original breaking process.
In other words, you divide the family, you win your battle. See, all this shit to make the woman independent, not depend on the man, was planned way back in 1712 by Willie Lynch. That's the advice he gave the slave owners. Divide the family. You divide the family, you control the slaves. So this is all the different methods that he's teaching the different slaves owners to how to control their slaves. In today's time, we consider no longer slaves. But in reality, the Willie Lynch letter is being applied to us today. See, and well, like I said, the Willie Lynch letter was for them to control slaves, but now it's more to control the poor. So it's just not blacks, it's white. If you're poor, you're in that category, no matter what color you are. So it went from slaves, just slaves, black slaves, African slaves, to now the poor. Because see, everything that they planted how to control the slaves was already planted in the black community. But now they just, they don't do it the way that they did it back in slavery time. It's that they have other ways today on how to apply the Willie Lynch letter to make it look less obvious or whatever, where you won't know unless you study and read. Like stuff like this, people would never realize that the way the black community is, all that shit was planned. All that shit was planned since 1712. So think about it, people. If you've been brainwashed for that long ago, change is not gonna happen overnight. You know, we have a big problem. No, we have a big problem. But I'm gonna let this video continue. Then after the video, I'm gonna elaborate and give my perspective of the video. But let's continue.
For example, take the case of the wild stud horse, a female horse, and an already infant horse, and compare the breaking process with two captured nigger males in their natural state, a pregnant nigger woman and her infant offspring.
Now, I want y'all to listen to this. I want y'all to listen to this part. This is a very important part here. Listen.
Take the stud horse, break him for limited containment. Completely break the female horse until she becomes very gentle, whereas you or anybody can ride her in her comfort. Breed the mare and the stud until you have the desired offspring. Then you can turn the stud to freedom until you need him again. Train the female horse where she will eat out of your hand, and she will in turn train the infant horse to eat out of your hand also. When it comes to breaking the uncivilized nigger, use the same process, but vary the degree and step up the pressure, so as to do a complete reversal of the mind. Take the meanest and most reckless nigger, strip him of his clothes in front of the remaining male niggers, the female and the nigger infant. Tar and feather him. Tie each leg to a different horse faced in the opposite direction, set him on fire, and beat both horses to pull him apart in front of the remaining nigger. The next step is to take a bullwhip and beat the remaining nigger male to the point of death in front of the female and the infant. Don't kill him, but put the fear of God in him, for he can be useful for future breeding. The breaking process of the African woman. Take the female and run a series of tests on her to see if she will submit to your desires willingly. Test her in every way, because she is the most important factor for good economics. If she shows any signs of resistance in submitting completely to your will, do not hesitate to use the bullwhip on her to extract the last bit of bitch out of her. Take care not to kill her, for in doing so you spoil good economics. When in complete submission, she will train her offsprings in the early years to submit to labor when they become of age. Understanding is the best thing. Therefore, we shall go deeper into this area of the subject matter concerning what we have produced here in this breaking process of the female nigger. We have reversed the relationship in her natural uncivilized state. She would have a strong dependency on the uncivilized nigger male, and she would have a limited protective tendency toward her independent male offspring.
Hey, what's up, Shotty? I didn't even say hello to everybody in the chat. What's up, Shotty? What's that? Val, Cam, Ennis, Andrews. What's up, Dwayne? Hey, welcome everybody.
And would raise male offsprings to be dependent like her. Nature had provided for this type of balance. We reversed nature by burning and pulling a civilized nigger apart and bullwhipping the other to the point of death, all in her presence. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reversed roles. For fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offspring to be psychologically independent. What have you got? You've got the nigger woman out front and the nigger man behind and scared.
Isn't that happening today? Isn't that happening today? You know, just taking the male right out the house. You know, you got women raising their kids. You know, you got some women raising men. And some of the men grow up with the same mind, thought, and tendency as the woman, instead of having the mind, thought, and tendency as a man, because the man is not at home. So that breaks up the black family values right there. And that's part of division. That's part of division. And they knew if they divide us, they can control us. It's all about control. And to today is all about control. You know, they control us. If we don't, like per se, vote the way they think we should vote, you know, we talked about. You know, we got families fighting other families because you're not voting the way they vote. That's the vision. That's the vision. And you got to think about what political party is necessarily causing division. Both of them are really. Both of them cause a division. You know, so, but we so fixated on depending on the government to help us. All that shit was planted, man. Us depending on the government for our way of life, it was all planned, man. All that shit was planned. Us crying to the government, we want this, all that shit was planned, man. Because they knew if they do the things that they say, that they'll be able to control us. Until today, they're controlling us, but we just don't see it. Let's continue with the video.
This is a perfect situation of sound sleep and economics. Before the breaking process, we had to be alertly on guard at all times. Now we can sleep soundly, for out of frozen fear, his woman stands guard for us. He cannot get past her early slave molding process. He is a good tool, now ready to be tied to the horse at a tender age. By the time a nigger boy reaches the age of 16, he is soundly broken in and ready for a long life of sound and efficient work and the reproduction of a unit of good labor force. Continually, through the breaking of uncivilized savage niggers, by throwing the nigger female savage into a frozen psychological state of independence, by killing of the protected male image, and by creating a submissive dependent mind of the nigger male slave, we have created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis forever, unless a phenomenon occurs and reshifts the position of the male and female slaves. We showed what we mean by example. Take the case of the two economic slave units and examine them closely. The Negro Marriage Unit. We breed two nigger males with two nigger females. Then we take the nigger male away from them and keep them moving and working. Say one nigger female bears a nigger female and the other bears a nigger male. Both nigger females, being without influence of the nigger male image, frozen with an independent psychology, will raise their offspring into reverse positions. The one with the female offspring will teach her to be like herself, independent and negotiable. We negotiate with her, through her, by her, and negotiate her at will. The one with the nigger male offspring she being frozen subconscious fear for her life, will raise him to be mentally dependent and weak, but physically strong. In other words, body over mind.
Isn't that happening today? Isn't that happening today? You have single mothers, one with the daughters, they teach them, be independent. You don't really need no man, teaching them all that. Then they have a male. A woman cannot teach a man how to be a man. So that young man is going to pick up tendencies of a woman. See, they ain't going to have the tendency of a man because the man is not there. A man is not in the home to show the young man how to be a man. So the young man is looking up to the mother. So the young man is going to pick up some tendencies as the woman. And that's all because, the male is not, included in the family to teach that young man to be a man. And like I say, all this was planned. Now this Willie Lynch letter was written in 1712. 1712, y'all. That's over 300 years ago. $314 years to be exact. And all that shit is happening today. So if people ask, man, how did we get to this point? Man, why black people ain't together? What's going on? This is why. It was planted in us. And a lot of us, haven't awakened. A lot of us still sleep. That's why a lot of stuff that was planned, a lot of people fell in. But just like they took away our language and our religion, they implemented mistrust within us to control us. They put envy in us to control us. That's why I say today, it's not about race. It's not about race. It's about good and evil. Because it's fiction if you think all of a sudden all black folks gonna come together. It's fiction. Because some of us been brainwashed so much, and a lot of us don't want to learn and understand history. We'll never wake up. We'll still stay in that same position that we've been in. But the people who research and study and understand, their eyes open. And they realize all this shit was nothing but a plan. And somehow or some way, that person who did the research and understand the history, they would try to break that chain because they understand that everything that's happening was nothing but a plan to divide us. But you're not going to be able to reach everybody because you have too many people comfortable with the lies. See, the truth make people uncomfortable because we've been lied to so much, we comfortable with that lie. We comfortable with that lie. Well, let's continue with the video.
Now, in a few years, when these two offspring become fertile for early reproduction, we will mate and breed them and continue the cycle. That is good, sound, and long-range comprehensive planning. Warning: possible interloping negatives. Earlier, we talked about the non-economic good of the horse and the nigger in the wild and natural state. We talked out the principle of breaking and tying them together for orderly production. Furthermore, we talked about paying particular attention to the female savage and her offspring for orderly future planning. Then, more recently, we stated that by reversing the positions of the male and female savages, we created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis forever, unless a phenomenon occurred and reshifted the positions of the male and female savages. Our experts warned us about the possibility of this phenomenon occurring, for they say the mind has a strong drive to correct and recorrect itself over a period of time. If I can touch some substantial original historical base, they advised us that the best way to deal with the phenomena is to shave off the brute's mental history and create a multiplicity of phenomena of illusions, so that each illusion will twirl in its own orbit, something similar to floating balls in a vacuum. This creation of multiplicity of phenomena of illusions entails the principle of crossbreeding the nigger and the horse, as we stated above, the purpose of which is to create a diversified division of labor, thereby creating different levels of labor and different values of illusion at each connecting level of labor. The results of which is the severance of the points of original beginnings for each sphere of illusion. Since we feel that the subject matter may get more complicated as we proceed in laying down our economic plan concerning the purpose, reason, and effect of crossbreeding horses and niggers, we shall lay down the following definition terms for future generations. Orbiting cycle means a thing turning in a given path. Axis means upon which or around which a body turns. Phenomenon means something beyond ordinary conception and inspires awe and wonder. Multiplicity means a great number. Sheer means a globe. Crossbreeding a horse means taking a horse and breeding it with an ass, and you get a dumb, backward ass, long-headed mule that is neither reproductive nor productive by itself. Crossbreeding niggers means taking so many drops of good white blood and putting them into as many nigger women as possible, varying the drops by the various tones that you want, and then letting them breed with each other until...
See, you see that? Now you see why a lot of the slave owners raped a lot of the slave women, because they was taught that. They was told that, to do that. So that was another form of control. That was a form of breaking that chain of, like natural breed. See, because they needed bodies. They needed bodies for the labor. So they used basically the black woman to produce. Then they needed a black male slave for the labor, and some of the female slaves for the labor. So the black female was to produce, and for them to keep producing, you had the white slave master raping the black slave women, the white slave master raping the black slave women. to produce more kids. They mixed them up. See, that broke the solid breed of the blacks. Just like if you get a pit bull dog and made it with a German Shepherd, it's gonna be when the puppy is born, it's gonna be like a mutt, what they call a mutt. It's not full breed. So none of us here in the United States are us African, well, blacks. All of us are mixed somehow. Because like me, my great grandfather was white, but he was like the white slave master, even though slavery wasn't in, slavery was over, but he was the type of man who'd leave his family, go down to the black woman house and have sex with the black woman and produce kids. And see, that was all implanted from the Willie Lynch letter. Because that shit was going on even after slavery. Because you can look at me and say, man, how can you have white blood? And yeah, my great grandfather was white. Well, if you look at me now, you couldn't tell. It don't look like I have any white in me, but in actuality, I do. For my great grandfather. Let's continue. I'm almost done with this video. Let's continue.
Well, another circle of color appears as you desire. What this means is this. Put the niggers and the horse in a breeding pot. Mix some asses and some good white blood. And what do you get? You get a multiplicity of colors of ass-backward, unusual niggers, running, tied to a backward-ass long-headed mule, the one productive of itself, the other sterile. The one constant, the other dying. We keep the nigger constant, for we may replace the mules for another tool. Both mule and nigger tied to each other, neither knowing where the other came from, and neither productive for itself, nor without each other. Controlled language. Crossbreeding completed, for further severance from their original beginning, we must completely annihilate the mother tongue of both the new nigger and the new mule, and institute a new language that involves the new life's work of both. Language is a peculiar institution. It leads to the heart of a people. The more a foreigner knows about the language of another country, the more he is able to move through all levels of that society. Therefore, if the foreigner is an enemy of the country, to the extent that he knows the body of the language, to that extent is the country vulnerable to attack or invasion of a foreign culture. For example, if you take a slave, if you teach him all about your language, he will know all your secrets, and he is then no more a slave, for you can't fool him any longer. And being a fool is one of the basic ingredients of an incident to the maintenance of the slavery system.
Being a fool is what they want for you to be, to control you. Let me repeat that. Let me repeat that one more time. Being a fool is what they need you to be to control you. Now think about it, people. Think about it. Think about this. Think about every black leader who tried to lead the black people in truth. What happened to them? What happened? First, they was ridiculed. You know, they did this and they did that, just like they did Martin Luther King talking about, you know, he had adulteral affairs and all that shit. They use things to tarnish your name, to embarrass you. That's the first thing they do to bring you down. Then say that don't work, then they go to all the other alternatives just to break you. Don't we see that today? This is some undeniable shit here. And just think, this was written in 1712. 1712, almost 314 years ago. Hit them like buttons for me, people. Almost 314 years ago, this was implanted to divide us, to divide black people, to divide the black slaves, to control them. And this man just said, wow. They want us to be fools, man. They want us to be dumb. They want us to be dumb, man. And like we be on YouTube acting crazy, going towards one another, disrespecting one another, they sitting back laughing, man. They sitting back laughing. Because we fell in that damn trap. We doing just what they want us to do, man. They want us to go at each other. They know that's what divide us. So we got to stop being fools, man. And like I say, by this plan being installed so long ago, and so many people, you know, through generations have been brainwashed and fooled, it's not an easy task to just say we need to come together and expect all black people to come together. Because a lot of us been poisoned. A lot of us been fooled. As Malcolm X said, a lot of us been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray. So to think that all black people would come together is kind of hard to believe. So, because too many of us been brainwashed and too many of us don't want to know the truth. We deny the truth. Too many of us deny the truth because we're comfortable with the lies. We fall in love with the lies instead of the truth. We fall in love with evil instead of good. Let's finish this video.
For example, if you told a slave that he must perform in getting out our crops, and he knows the language well, he would know that our crops didn't mean our crops, and the slavery system would break down, for he would relate on the basis of what our crops really meant. So you have to be careful in setting up the new language, for the slaves would soon be in your house, talking to you man to man. That is death to our economic system. In addition, the definitions of words or terms are only a minute part of the process. Values are created and transported by communication through the body of the language. A total society has many interconnected value systems. All the values in the society have bridges of language to connect them for orderly working in the society. But for those language bridges, these many value systems would sharply clash and cause internal strife or civil war. The degree of the conflict being determined by the magnitude of the issues or relative opposing strength in whatever form. For example, if you put a slave in a hog pen and train him to live there and incorporate in him to value it as a way of life completely, the biggest problem you would have out of him is that he would worry you about provisions to keep the hog pen clean, or take the same hog pen and make a slip and incorporate something into his language where he comes to value a house more than he does his hog pen. Now you've got a problem. He will soon be in your house. This
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. All this shit, man, was planned. All this shit was planned. You know, and a lot of us fell into that plan. We fell into it. So that's why it would be hard, in my opinion, you know, for black people to totally get together unless we wake up. With all this depending on the government to help us and all that shit was planned. They wanted us to depend on them. That's why I say black people use race as a crutch. It ain't about race. Today is not about race. It's about your classification. Either you poor or you rich. In my opinion, there's no such thing as middle class. Because anybody could be 1 to 2 checks away from being homeless. Unless you got money. Unless you're rich. To me, they took away the middle class when they took away jobs. Jobs like General Motors and jobs like that gives our pension. You very seldom find a job now that give out pension. I'm not talking about city or government jobs. I'm talking about regular jobs, labor jobs, factory jobs. Back in the day, they used to give out pensions. My old man and my brothers retired from General Motors, they get a pension. But they took all them jobs away. Because as you heard, everything that Willie Lynch was telling the slave owners, it all had to deal with money. All you heard was economics. Economics. That's all you heard through his letter. How to control and how to increase your money. It's all about money. And today, everything that's done is all about money. It's all about money. It ain't about helping the poor. They want the poor to depend on them. too many people independent, they ain't useful. They want us to keep dependent on them in some form or another. Because we have to, come to them. We feel that, without them, we can't survive. That's the mindset we have. Oh, we need the government to help us. Oh, they got to help us. They got to do this. They got to do that. Then in the process of doing that, we just, it's go through generations, depending on the government. And that's all they want. See? Just like what did President Trump promise people? America first, right? Going to war and all that stuff. What American is that benefiting right now? It's benefiting the rich. It ain't benefiting us. So we spending $7, $8 a gallon in gas, spending high groceries. Prices of other things is high. So how is it benefiting us? But I can tell you who it is benefiting. See, food prices can rise, but all we can do is complain. Because we all have to have food. So we're going to buy that. We're going to buy food. And people who have cars going to have to get gas. So you're going to pay that price. You're going to complain, but you're going to get that gas because you need it to run your car. So who is it benefiting? See, that's how I look at things. Because that war is not benefiting the homelessness and the mental illness we have here in the States. It's not addressing that. It's not helping that. We're not doing anything to help these people. In my opinion, these people here is more important than Iran or whatever foreign country. Why can't we take care of the people that's already here? Instead of closing build schools and hospitals and all that shit. Why can't we take care of that? We want to take care of all other problems in different places, but we don't want to take care of the problems we have in the United States. What sense do that make? That's just like you going out and making sure everybody else's house is cool, but you don't take care of your own. What sense do that make? That don't make any sense to me. So we just gotta wake up, man. We gotta wake up. You know, it's good to have fun amongst each other, but disrespecting thing needs to stop. Because that's what they want us to do. They want the black man to disrespect the black woman. They want the black woman to disrespect the black man. That's what keeps us divided. Then once we cause division amongst us, then their job is well done. That's right, Dimple D. Everything is a design. It was planned. And some of us are so dumb, I ain't gonna say dumb, are so ignorant to the truth, they don't see it. They don't see it. All this shit was designed, people. I need y'all to see that, man. They laughing at us. They laughing at us. Yeah. It makes a lot of people uncomfortable. The truth makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Because they're comfortable with the lies. It's easy to be comfortable with the lies, especially when you've been programmed for so long. Then when you know the truth, you know, you reject it. When you see the truth or hear the truth, you reject it because you're comfortable with the lies. That's what it is, Dimple. That's just what it is. And that's why I say again, when you say all the black people need to unite, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. And today's time, it's not about race now. In these days and times, it's not about race now. So we as black people need to stop using race as a crutch. It's all about good and evil. Until we learn that the government really don't mean us no good, you know? Because if you think about it, we, you know, even if black people open a business, we don't have to go to the government to get a loan, a business loan. You know? But our problem is if we do get a business loan and open the business, some of us are so brainwashed, we wouldn't even do business with that black owner. We'd still go to the Arab, you know, whatever other stores before we support our own people. That's part of being brainwashed. We trust other people, then trusting us, you know, our own people. Division. See how that works? See how that works? So when we do shit like that, man, all we doing is just fall into the trap. We've fallen into the trap. You know, because I just showed proof right there. Their whole plan was to divide the family because they knew that's how they control us. They took the father. They take the father out the home, and leave the mother to raise the kid. You know, a mother would teach the girl how to be like her, independent and everything else. But she can't teach the boy how to be a man. So the boy is gonna pick up the woman's tendencies. And we're seeing that today. That's why the black man, the true black man, is so dangerous to the establishment. Because the true black man is woke to all the bullshit that's going on. And that's dangerous too. Because just think if all black men was united. Just think. If all black men was united, all black men did what they supposed to do, raise their kids, you know, teach them the right way. That chain can be broken. And people want to know what's the solution. In my opinion, that's the only solution. People will have to come together and try to break that chain. Now, will that happen? I don't know. Right now, I don't see it because you have too many people comfortable with the lies. They criticize the truth. Or they criticize the messenger who's delivering the truth. We see that every day. I get ridiculed for that. You know, I got some friends. Well, we knew each other, but a lot of friends don't really. Well, some. Well, it ain't a lot. I say about one or two. But because the way I changed my life, I put my life more in God, and I studied other shit. Like this history and all that. I got conscious with it, but because I speak of God also, a lot of people that turns a lot of people away. Because you ain't with that foolishness no more. And when they was friends with you, you wasn't talking like you talking now. See, a lot of people run away from the truth. Why they run away with the truth? Because they comfortable with the lies. They feel more comfortable with the lies. They rather continue to doing the lies than changing and doing the truth. We too dependent on the government to help us. to expect us to give us a better way of life instead of us going out and getting it for ourselves. We use it as a crutch. That's why I applaud young brothers who, like, go get property and, buy property and rent it out or sell it or, do shit like that. I love it. I love it. They're not using the white man as a crutch. They're not using race as a crutch. They're going to get it. You can't do nothing but trust people like that. And I commend young brothers who are doing that. Because that's what you're supposed to do. Especially buy a house or something for your family. That's something you're supposed to do. But investing and all that stuff, that's something that was never taught to the black family because they kept all that secrets to themselves. They didn't want the black family to prosper. They didn't want the black man to prosper. They want us to stay ignorant and dumb. That was all planned. All that shit was planned. So the only way we can break this cycle game, we have to break that chain, man. Because as you heard, shit affects generation to generation. And a lot of this shit ain't gonna change overnight. And in fact, it's not guaranteed that it will change. That's why I always say reach one, teach one. So if you get one person to listen and learn and understand, you did your job. You ain't gonna never get the whole crowd you speaking to accept what you're talking about. But if you can reach one, you did your job. Because that one can teach somebody else. And the one he teach can teach somebody else. So if you reach one, you did your job. You just want to reach somebody. You just want to make one person think. You hope the whole masses who you're talking to will listen. That's a hope, but it's not reality. Like I say, I'm not on here to change everybody's mind. I just want to put the truth out there, and hopefully I can influence one person. If I influence one person off this YouTube, I'm good. I'm good. I'm satisfied. See, like I said before, I'm not doing this for money. I'm not doing this for fame. I'm doing this to educate my people. When I'm saying my people, I'm talking about good people. I hope I can reach all my brothers and sisters. But until they decide to not be comfortable with the lies, who open their eyes, open their mind, there's nothing I can do about it. All I can do is just speak the truth and just pray that somebody understand and just sit back and think. That's my goal. Cause see, I'm gonna get my wealth, my riches from the Most High. I'm not. I'm not wishing to get it on YouTube. I'm gonna get my blessing. I'm gonna get my blessings. So I'm not worried to be rewarded on. I'm not trying to get rewarded on YouTube. I'm not trying to get paid on YouTube. Now, if you want to donate, hey, that's cool. That'll help me build my platform. But as far as doing this just to get paid, no. No. I could have stayed on Facebook. No, well, Facebook don't pay. But I just stopped doing it on Facebook because I want to try to attract a broader audience so I can speak my truth and try to wake people. That's why I chose YouTube. Like I say, I did it on Facebook, but it really, I don't feel it hit a broader audience that I wanted to. Because you got friends, whatever. Then every now and then somebody probably see your page, but I still wanted to, attract a broader audience. And I feel I was kind of blessed to be put in this sector. I believe God put me here for a reason. To speak the truth. Hopefully people understand. So like I say, I'm not here to cause get no enemies. I'm not here to do that. I'm not here to defame anybody, to ridicule anybody. I'm not here for that. You know, like I say, I be where I be because of the respect aspect of everything. I be at the takeover because them brothers gave me respect. They showed me respect because I show everybody respect. They showed me respect back. So whoever show I go to is because they showed me respect when I came to their page. So I gave respect back. That's all. That's all. I'm not here to cause beef, or dislike somebody or, go at somebody. That's why I say, I leave that roasting to the professionals. I leave that to the professionals. And I see that as like entertainment. Because like I say, I grew up on roasting. So roasting don't, roasting is normal to me. I just don't like the degrading and personal and defaming people's names shit. That's not roasting. But if people kept that out, it'd be entertaining. It'd be entertaining. But people don't know roasting take a skill. It's a skill. You got to be good at the gaps, and you got to be funny. It's a skill, just like being a rapper. It's a skill. Some people's better than others. That's okay. There's been plenty of times growing up, people can out roast me. But I never took it personal. I never wanted to fight because the person out roasted me. It never got to that point. It was fun. It was entertaining, roasting each other. And sometimes I don't even have to be amongst the roast. Nobody ain't roasting me, but I'm just there. Shit, I do the same thing when I be on YouTube. If I'm somewhere and somebody else roasting each other, if the shit funny, I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna laugh. Don't get mad at me. Y'all don't mean whatever they roasting about. That don't mean I feel the same way about you. I'm just listening to the roast. Because most of the content creators, whatever, they respond on what another person says. So they create their content off of that. Seems to me that's what the game is. So all they doing is reacting on each other. They roasting each other. And like I say, if they just keep the personal shit out of it, it'll be entertaining. But when I first came over here, it was kind of fun to watch. And I also noticed it was a lot of, what's up, Trina? What we doing? It was a lot of big donors that was on the app that was donating to different people in this sector. Then as time went on and all this other buffoonery started happening, I started noticing the big donors was disappearing. Why is that? Have anybody thought about that? I think people have to really think about that. And I'm not talking about the people who donate, but they be part of the bullshit. I'm not talking about them people. I'm talking about people who donate because you're putting on a good show. Them type of people. Like the only one I can think of now, Miss Beautiful one. When I first came, she used to be in KB chat. We used to say hello to each other like I do everybody else in this sector. And and I saw when she when she was donating. I saw it. She donated to KB. She donated to everybody. Everybody who's putting out good content, she was donating to. I saw that with my own eyes. You had some more, but I can't think of them people. But you had some more big donators. But as soon as this buffoonery started, You start seeing less and less. Yeah. Yeah, they ran him off, Trina. Hey, Trina, I'm gonna do you a favor. I'm gonna make you a moderator. I made you a moderator, Trina. Thanks for coming, sis. Give me some of them subs. You know, you my girl, Trina. You know, we always been cool since I've been on here. You we gotta learn to respect one another. That's how we can break that cycle. Fuck that is all about who we like shit. That's bullshit. You shouldn't dislike nobody. You don't have to roast nobody to not like them. Like I say, me and my friend, we used to roast each other, but that doesn't mean we didn't like each other. That was just some fun shit to do. Then after we roasting shit, we go get us a 6-pack, whatever, and shit, chill and talk, laugh and roast. We had fun. It wasn't about no personal shit wanting to fight. That's bullshit. And some of you guys want to fight each other. You call yourself a roast each other, but you want to fight because a person might out roast you. Man, that's some lame shit. Okay, that's cool, Trader. Yeah, try to give me some more sub. I think a lot of people need to hear some of this. A lot of people need to hear some of this, man. Well, maybe everything will be out. Maybe everything, people will change. Because these people in this sector, they need to realize, man, all this crazy shit, you running people away. Like now, I will always respect KB because he brought me to this sector. But I'm going to respect KB, because all this buffoonery. I'm still going to watch him, but I'm just going to be in the chat. I'm not going to try to go on his panel, especially if he's talking about real life shit. Because if I go on his panel, that's going to cause division. And I don't want to, bring division to him. So I respect that. That don't make me dislike him. I still got respect for Kwame. Always will. But like I told Kwame way before I came, and knew you guys, I told Kwame he's like a little brother to me. Because when he talks, what he talks about is mature. It's adult conversation. That's what drew me to Kwame. It wasn't that because he's a celebrity or he played in the NBA. That don't mean shit to me. How is you as a man? How is you as a man? That's what I judge. That's how I judge people. Like I say, I don't judge people how somebody else feel about somebody. I judge on how you treat me. You give me respect, I give you respect. Because I'm coming to you with respect. Now, if you don't apply it to me, I just don't mess with you. I move on. You ain't hurting me. You're not hurting me at all. So like I say, I'm my own man. I'm my own man. I don't run behind nobody. I don't do that. I have my own morals. And I stick to it. When I speak on what I observe. That's it. I don't bring feelings in it. None of that. I just speak on what I observe. If what I observe and what truth I say and you don't like it, oh well. But I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. People get mad at me because I be on Biz and G Money show, takeover. Then because I be there, I tell them if they wrong. If they do something wrong. Because when I first introduced to Biz, this was around when he was going out of a beautiful one. I told Biz that he was wrong. His reaction was wrong. But just because I kick it with somebody, if you wrong, you wrong. I always told Biz, man, you gotta, learn to control your temper. Because people will do shit to trigger you, to get you out your box. That's something Biz gonna have to learn. But I told him that. I'm sure other people probably told him, but I know I told him too. See, that's how I roll, man. Yeah, I ain't Trina. I'm not scared to tell. See, if you friends was in real life, this real life, Trina. If you friends with somebody, if your friend do shit that's wrong and you don't say nothing, you're not really a friend. See, a friend will tell you that you're wrong. Somebody who won't tell you when you're wrong but just won't say nothing, they followers. They flunkies. They're not really your friend. They just like to see you act the fool, do dumb shit. But a friend to say, hey man, chill out, man. That's not right. That just because you do that, that's not going to end your friendship. That don't mean your friendship going to end because you telling your friend that they wrong. If your friend ridicule you because you tell them that they doing something wrong, they not your friend. I don't want no yes man around me. Just like I never wanted a yes woman. I wanted a woman to tell me when I fuck up. I don't want no woman to go along with everything I do. Yeah. You if you love somebody, Trina, you have to do that. You can't let them just continue to do it wrong because you're not really necessarily looking out for them. You know, you just being a yes person. You know, like R. Kelly, he had a lot of yes people around him. So that's why he got away with doing so much wrong. Because he didn't have nobody around him to tell him that he was fucking up. Because like I said before, people who grew up in Chicago around that time knew that R. Kelly liked younger women. Everybody knew that. But nobody ever knew that he was doing shit that I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think that shit started happening until he started getting big. But before then, everybody knew he used to go up to the high school, pick up younger girls. Everybody knew that. Everybody knew that. So that wasn't a surprise to us when all that shit happened to him. Yeah, that's true, Trainer. Your mom was right. A friend would tell you when you're wrong, but the enemy is going to talk about you. You're right. Because they're going to let you keep doing what you're doing. Even though you're wrong, they ain't going to say nothing to you. But they're going to go behind your back and talk about you. Yeah, he was a dumb motherfucker, man. He did this, he did that. Now his ass locked up. You know, they'll talk about you. They're not really your friend. They're not really your friends. That's why you have to be careful who you pick as a friend. Because my mom always told me, in your lifetime, you're going to have one true friend. You be lucky if you have two. In your lifetime, the rest of them is associates. Everybody else is associates. And that's a true statement. Because a true friend will be there whenever you need them. A true friend will drop everything if you need help. A friend will be there. A true friend, you know, you might help them, but if you need help, they'll help you without even asking. A true friend would look out for your well-being. A true friend would tell you, again, when you're fucking up. That's a true friend. Yeah. 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 All of them do. Even the parents of the girls that R. Kelly is supposed to assaulted, they knew. But see, R. Kelly gave them, you know, a little money, boom, 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 boom. you know, then their money ran out. Then they want to tell. So they knew his empire was going down because they were bringing R. Kelly down, and they knew that the well was running dry. So hey, what? Why not do an interview, get paid, and tell them, how R. Kelly did all this and did that. Yeah, that's a true friend, Trina. You're right. You're right. You can go to that friend and talk about anything. Your relationship, your marriage, anything. But that true friend is not gonna go out and tell you business. A true friend gonna keep that amongst you two. Only way that shit's gonna get out unless you tell it. That true friend is not gonna say anything. They're gonna keep it between you two. That's a true friend. You're right, Trina. You're right. You can't find too many people like that. That's all come to that division. But like I say, the Willie Lynch letter was applied in 1712. And all that shit he had said came to fruition, came to light. If you knew that shit and you look today, all that shit he planted and taught them slave owners, you can see it today. That's why I say it's good for black folks, black people, to learn history. To learn history. Learn true history. Not the bullshit history you probably learned in school. But I'm talking about true history. About our people. What we endured. What we went through. Because you have to remember, y'all, slavery was going on a long time. Because like I say, Willie Lynch came from the West Indies. He was a slave owner. So slaves been all over. Even during biblical times, they had slaves. But it was a different kind of slavery. See, slavery here was nothing but about economics. It was trying to build the United States. See, so slavery in the United States was nothing about money, economics. See, during biblical times, slavery, it was different. It wasn't necessarily about money. That's the difference in the slavery. When slavery came here in the United States, it was about money, economics. Yeah, I know what she meant. I know what she meant. You got to observe people. See, that's what I do, Trina. I observe. And that's what I did when I came to YouTube. I observed. I observed what people were talking about. I just observed everything, conversations and all that. And that's what determined on, who was right and who was wrong. That was determined on who I basically wanted to associate with. because I came to YouTube to learn to see how YouTube worked. That was my goal. Well, that was part of my goal. Then once I saw how YouTube worked, I was gonna open my own page and do what I'm doing now. But at first, I had to learn how YouTube worked. So that's when I started watching different content creators. Watching different shows on YouTube. Then, like I say, from one person, then introduced to Kwame, boom, then, the rest is history. So I'm still learning YouTube. I'm still learning YouTube, but I think I learned enough to open, to start my own page. You know, so like I say, if I gotta build this channel from the mud on up, that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. Yep. Well, people, just I hope this video was informative. This content was informative to you guys. That's all I want to bring. I just want to bring educational information to people. Some just to make them think. That's why I brought on to like what's happening in the streets here, in the inner city, in Chicago, and probably other places. A lot. Bring educational shit, man, and just show you the how that seed was planted and what brought on to why things is going on like it is today. The Willie Lynch letter was the beginning. Because you had people all through them times, especially strong black men, strong leaders, who tried to change the way things were. And in my opinion, all of them were successful. Not all the way. Because even they had rebellious people going against them, even though they were speaking the truth. You know what, Trina? Dolph, a young brother that lived here, Dolph was his cousin. Dolph was his cousin. Yep. Dolph was his cousin. Yeah, that was messed up. That was messed up. But yeah, young Dolph was my man cousin. The young brother from around the crib. Then when that shit happened, I was like, damn. Cause he used to go down to Memphis. Him and a few other cats. They used to always go because they have some type of thing down there in Memphis. I forgot what it was. They used to have it every year. And they used to go down to Memphis and chill out. Cause I used to tell them, hey man, that's good. Get out of Chicago, travel, see the, so yeah. Yeah, that young Dolph was my man's cousin. Yeah, and that was a shame what happened to him. You know, there's a lot of these brothers, man. You know, that was unalive vitally. And a lot of them had talent, man. Like I said, a young brother from around my way, he was talented as hell in the rap game. He could have made it big. But because of violence, he's not here anymore. That division, man. That division is real. We see divisions all kind of shapes and forms. But just remember, all that shit was planned. What you seeing now, all this shit was planned. You know? Trina, that's why I say, man, black folks need to learn their history. Learn history. Not just black history, but American history. See, this is just not black history. This is American history, showing how we was treated in America. What our value was in America. You know, they built America off the backs of slaves. And this is showing how they built America off the back of slaves. They had to use certain methods to build America off the back of slaves. Wait, you say it's a lot of family homeless, Nate, because he left. He was taking care of a lot of people. I was sick for 3 months. I broke down, Nate. That's my real friend. Yeah, yeah. See, Trina, that's why they don't care about black on black crime. See, people gotta understand the method to the madness. They want us to kill off black males to kill off each other. That's what they want. They want the single female household. That's what they want. Why do you think they locked up so many black men during the 90s and 2000? Why? Think about it. Think about it. A lot of kids grew up without their dad in their home, either because they wasn't with us anymore or they was locked up. So it was left for the woman to raise the kids. And what did Willie Lynch say? He said a woman raising a female would teach her about her, be independent and all that. A woman raising a man really can't teach a man to be a man. So the man is going to pick up the woman's tendency. He's going to still be strong, but he's not going to be strong like a man. He's going to pick up the woman's tendencies. It all was a plan, man. It all was a plan. And we fell in it. So, some of us was forced. But the cycle is steady going and going and going. See, the truth always been kept from us. The truth always been kept from us. But see, now, since things are, information is so available now, right now it don't make no sense to be ignorant to the truth. Yeah, well, Trina, hey, all I can do what I can do. Put out the truth. It's up to you to change your heart. I can't change nobody how they feel. I can't change nobody's spirit. I can't change that. I can give you out the truth. I can teach you the truth, but it's up to you. It's up to you. Because, see, I can't prepare to have resistance for when I speak the truth. Everybody has some type of resistance when they speak the truth. Marcus Garvey had resistance. Malcolm X had resistance amongst his own people. What's up, Clarence? Martin Luther King had his own resistance among his own people. All that shit was bred in us. And it continued on through generations. And that was their plan. For us to be divided like that. And to see the division that's going on the internet, that's crazy, man. Keep it entertaining. Keep it entertaining, man. We don't have to down anybody. We don't have to fuck with nobody's character. We don't have to do that. If you're gonna roast, roast. Keep it entertaining, man. If you don't got nothing to roast about, shut the fuck up. Do what you do. If somebody say something, you go over their content, you give your perspective on it, that's cool. Put on the show. Because, that's all you got to do, man. All this division and shit, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. We all the same people, man. We want to judge people on status and all that shit, man. We all the same. We all fell for the division that was in place amongst us. Envy. With envy came jealousy. All that shit was planted, man. And we all fell for it. And like I say, some of us got so comfortable with the lies. When the truth hit us, we want to neglect it. We want to reject it. Because we're comfortable with them lies. See, some of you people know I'm speaking the truth. But I played the Willie Lynch letter. You heard the Willie Lynch letter. And everything he wrote in that letter, you will see it today. Hit them like buttons for me, y'all. Everything you see, you hear in that letter, you see the effects today. And mind you, this was written in 1712. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let me ask. When they taught us history, American history, didn't they say America was born in 1776? Because I remember we had a bicentennial, I think in 1976. Some of y'all wasn't born yet. You know, but this guy, no, you had slaves here before then. So when Willie Lynch wrote this letter in 1712, so that means from 1712 to 1776, they so-called used the slaves to build America in that time period. So actually, people was over here in America before 1776. But was that taught to us in history, in school? Have anybody known that? Did anybody know that? I'm just asking. Give me a second, people. Yeah, anybody know that? Yeah, man, it's a trip. People just gotta sit down and just think about it, man. Understand why things is going the way it's going. You know, and I say again, today is not about race, man. It's about good and evil, and that's because some of us been so brainwashed. Some of us fell into the trap, and it's no coming back. So you got too many people who, I mean, when I say people, I mean black people who bow down and would do anything for oppressor because that was embedded in us since 1712, since slavery. So you got a lot of people who will never change. But you still have good people who will accept the knowledge that is given, the true knowledge that is given, because they still have good in them, but they're just in that trap. So they are easy to accept the truth. Because I don't see black people totally getting together. I don't see it. So when people say that, that's not the solution because that's not reality. We wish it was reality, but all in all, it's not. So we have to accept the people who we can reach. Be satisfied with the people we can reach and go from there. Because you're not going to reach everybody. So it's all about good and evil, y'all. Either you're going to go with be evil, go with the evil, or you're going to be good. See, I don't like to associate myself with evil. I don't like to wake up with evil thoughts. I don't like to go to bed with evil thoughts. I try to keep evil away from me. I love peace. I love peace. I love my peace. See, I love my peace. And I won't let nothing, when I say nothing, I mean nothing, destroy my peace. But I ain't gonna let you break my peace. I'm not gonna let you. I forbid you to break my peace. You can deny everything I speak of. But one thing I ain't gonna let you do is disturb my peace. That's one thing you won't accomplish with me. Because I will always be me. And I will protect my peace. Any means necessary. And I don't mean that in a violent way. Because I know how to protect my peace without being violent. Violence is not the answer to claiming your peace. Violence is not the answer. If something trying to disturb your peace or somebody, you just get away from it. You don't fuck with them. You know, if you don't feel comfortable in a certain area or around certain people, you don't go there. You don't go around there. Because you know if you go around there, somehow that's going to disturb your peace. So you don't go around people who's negative all the time. Because you find yourself being negative. Because this is a true statement. Birds of a feather flock together. That's a true statement. And see, that's another reason why I'm, got my own page. So I can speak my piece. Let people know how I roll, how I think, what I'm about. Don't judge me for who I be with or whatever. Because like I say, I hang with people who shows me respect. And see, that's something we have to learn as a whole. We have to learn how to respect one another. We don't respect one another. You rather put people down because maybe they ain't at the status that you are. They're not financially well off as you are. So you put them down. You talk about them. So you don't know what a person went through in their life. You don't know why a person is in the position they're in. There's a reason for everything. And all that shit was a plan. All that shit was planted. But we too dumb and we fell for it. You heard Willie Lynch say, we got to keep them stupid. We got to keep them ignorant. We got to take away their truth so they can look up to us. Depend on us. That's the slave master. Make the slave depend on them. Make the slaves have fear them like God to control them. And isn't that happening today? Because you got some of us scared of the oppressor than they, than anything. That's why you see, like, you can see some white people walk through a black neighborhood and nothing happened to them. Let a black person walk through the same neighborhood, something gonna happen to them. Why is that? Because we fear what would happen if we do something to the white people. But we know we have a better chance to get away if we do something to the black person. See, they fear the oppressor. They don't have no fear in unaliving their own kind. That's where black on black crime comes from. That's where black on black crime comes from. It's crazy, people. Like I said, we gotta learn our history. We gotta learn our history, or we'll be lost forever. Yep. All this stuff was a plan. Hey, people, don't put, if you want to donate to my channel to help build my channel, don't put my Cash App in the chat. If you want to, it's all good. If you know, if not, I won't hold it against you. But I just appreciate that you come and listen to what I'm saying and what I'm trying to preach. Well, I ain't gonna say preach, but just try to, get out. I appreciate that. So like I say, if guys wanna, you know, donate, to the channel and all that stuff, I really appreciate it. And like I say, as time go along, I will show my appreciation back to you. That's one thing I learned for being on the takeover. Appreciate the people that come to your show, that people that be in your chat. Show appreciation to them. Don't just think of yourself. Think about other people. See, today we too selfish. We so selfish we won't help our own people. And like I say, that's all was planned. That's all was planned. So guys, if you want to donate $1, $2, whatever, it don't, matter. I appreciate anything you donate. And trust me, this will go on to building this platform, to bring you more information. And like I say, I want to build it, start having, people on the panel, having, guests on the panel where we can speak history, true history. So I got big plans for this channel. So right now I'm just trying to get it out the mud, get it going. Like I say, I gotta crawl before I can walk. So, it just start from there, man. So that's what that's the real deal. That's the real deal. Yep. So yeah, people, man, we have to change our attitude. Have to change our mind thoughts. Because hey, learning true history is a big shock once you learn it. Because I know to me it was a big shock. It was like, damn. I'm like, damn, really? Oh, I see. Oh, that's how I was when I was learning it. It's just like living in a big city all your life, then moving to the country. You got to adapt. It's a big shock from moving from a big city to a country city. It's a big shock. So that's how learning the truth is. It's a big shock because we've been lied to for so long. So once we learn it, it's a shock to it. It's a shock to our brain. It'd be like, man, I can't believe that. Or, some people just be ignorant to it. But they don't put together that everything was planned for us to be the way we are, for us to treat each other like we do. All that shit was planned, man. And we fell hook and sinker. We fell for it. Or it bred us for so long, we don't know nothing else. The first plan was to split us up, to put the light blacks against the dark blacks. Well, then find a way to how to control them, to embarrass them, to ridicule them, to punish them in front of their families, in front of other people, to make an example of. So that sound familiar? Told them to separate the man from the house, separate the man from the wife, separate the man from the kids. You get the man out the house, the wife has to raise the kids. To raise a girl, she's gonna teach the girl to be like her, independent and all that. She raise a man, she can't teach a man how to be a man. She can teach him to be strong, but she can't teach him how to be a man. Because the man gonna always be strong, but he gonna have the woman tendency because he didn't have a man in the house to teach him how to be a man. Don't we see that today? Place envy and division. Strip their language, strip their religion, make them look up to us, make them depend on us. Don't that sound familiar? It's something when you learn history, the true history. It's something when you learn history. And see, all this information is what they kept from us coming up. They kept all this shit from us. They kept away the true history. They want us to know their history, not our history. So you think about it, that's why some states is trying to get Black history out of the schools. So they don't want these kids to learn true Black history. Because they learn true Black history, they'll be too strong and they can't control them. You guys got to think it's a method to the madness. You know? It's a method to the madness. There's a reason why they do things they do and why they continue to do the things they do. Because like I explained to you before, each state getting a certain amount of money for whatever programs they running in their state from the government. The federal government, put it that way. It's up to the local government to use that money like they're supposed to. They get money for education. They get money, for all that shit. Child care, all that shit. Everything they so-called fighting for. That's why sometimes you see that local government is asking the president for more money. So when you see a local politician asking the government for more money, that means they already really got money, but they need some more. Then you see them do that. Then you see how things are going down instead of going up, but they still getting money, then asking for more money. Then you wonder, damn, where the money you got from them at first? Because I don't see no improvement or nothing. Schools still closing, hospital closing, businesses leaving. You know, where's all this money going? Then we see later, you got your politician not using that money like they should. They put their pocket in that money. They're not giving it to the people. They're not providing it to the people. Because believe you me, every state get money from the federal government on the program they run in their state. Every 50 states get money from the federal government for the programs that they running in their state. So why are things going down in like major cities in the United States if you getting money for these programs that you have in place from the federal government? Why are you always asking for more? And while you asking for more, shit is still closing down. You got schools and mental hospitals and hospitals still closing down because they saying they don't have any funds. Don't make no sense. See, I don't care what party you in. You can say you're a Republican. You can say you're a Democrat. Believe you me, none of them people give a damn about you. In reality, they thinking about themselves and people like them. They don't give a fuck about no poor. Because if a politician gave a care about the poor, you wouldn't have so much homelessness and school closings and all the hospitals and shit. You wouldn't have that if they cared about the poor and people. You wouldn't have that. Why you got to cut the budget on them programs, you know, to so-called save money? Something that people need that would help them. Why are you taking that away? So we depend too much on the government to save us. The government is not in line to save you. That's not their goal, to save you. Their goal is to make money. They want to make money. It's all about money. It's like these pagan holidays. It's all about money. Like in history, Black Friday started off as a big slave auction day where they sold slaves, like a big sale. You know how it is now. Black Friday, you go to the store for sales and all that shit. That's what Black Friday was back then. It was a big day for slave owners to buy slaves. So they called it Black Friday. But today we celebrate like it's time to go shopping and shop for Christmas, which is another pagan holiday. But this holiday is there for the rich to make money. It's all about money, y'all. They don't give a fuck about the poor. It's about how they can get their pockets fatter. That's it. All right, y'all. I did what? Over 2.5 hours. Well, I'd like to thank everybody who came through. Trina made her my second uh, moderator. Clarence, thanks for coming through, bro. What's up, cuz? Like I said, Trina. Who else came through? Dimple D. Thanks for coming through, coming in the chat. Give your input. Shotty Yachty. Thanks for coming through, bro. Volcan Andrews. Thanks for coming through. Are you in the bushes, cuz? Up to Wayne. I think that's Malaka. I don't know who the hell that is. I don't know how to pronounce it, but thanks for coming through. Thank you all you guys for coming through. Because I think this was a good conversation, man, to bring truth and awareness to everybody, man. We need to know it. We need to know it, man, and try to break that chain. So all this shit was designed, man. All this shit was designed to break us apart, man. And like I say, this was in 1712, before they so-called talk about America was born, 1776. So that means it was what? 54 years? No, 64 years until America was totally built. They said America was born. So-called America was born. Makes you think. They built America off the back of slaves. What's up, Cortez? And benefited the wealth off the back of slaves. All about money, man. It's all about money. And they're applying the same tactics today. And you got same people falling for it every time. Yeah. I'm glad that's why I really don't want a panel right now. Because, when you have a panel, that I learn sometimes, especially speaking about this. Now, you on the roasted channel is different, but when you like speaking the truth, you really don't want nobody to interrupt it. Just sit back and listen. And if you have any questions, you can type it in the chat or whatever. But just for now, I'd rather have it without, having anybody on the panel. So that's how I'm doing it now. But pretty soon, people may, come on the panel, get a view or whatever. But just for right now, man, I'm gonna keep it this way. I'm gonna keep it this way. Yeah. Yeah, cuz I heard cuz wasn't doing too good, man. I heard that shit went all to his bones, is in his bones and shit. So it could be any time now. That's messed up. Have you talked to him? Yeah, y'all, that cancer, man. That cancer is crazy, man. That cancer took out a lot of people. Cancer took out a lot of people. That ain't no joke. Yeah, I had talked to my brother. He had talked to Warren. Yeah, he had talked to Warren. Because I think Warren was leaving Alabama going back to Houston. So excuse me. He had talked to Warren, and Warren told him that. But Warren been cleaning out his apartment. So like I say, they ain't planning on him to make it. But Warren was cleaning out his apartment and shit, cleaning out his apartment and stuff. So that's all I know so far. Because Rod asked me if something happened, would I go down to Alabama? I said, shit. Probably not. But shit, my family in Alabama, half of them I don't even know. So it will be kind of awkward, but it's something to think about, man. I don't know. But it'd be good though, because like I said, I haven't seen my family down there. Yep, bone cancer. Well, that's happened to my brother ex-wife, man. She had got cancer. Then the cancer hit her bone. Man, that was it. It was a matter of time. Same thing happened to her. It was a matter of time, man. That's why I tell people, because you never know, man. You can't take life for granted. Yeah, let me know. If something happened or whatever, you want to go down there, let me know. So we drive, I'll help you drive. That'd be no problem. You drive, I drive, we all drive. It don't matter. But yeah, just let me know, man. Yeah. So I guess I just plan, man. Because I'm thinking if we do make that trip together, man, instead of driving our car or whatever, we can rent a car. We could drive down there or something. You know. But yeah, I love a band. Like I said, I haven't seen my family Alabama, man. I think I was what football game? What football? They playing football now? It must was practicing or something. What football game? I didn't hear about that. Was it here? I didn't hear about that. I didn't hear about that, cuz. Where was this at? Oh, they got a like a AAU for football. Hales. Oh, you go to Hales Franciscan? Oh, yeah, that's what I thought. It was spring football. That's why I said it must have been spring practice. Because we used to do that. We used to have spring. That's why I ain't played baseball. That's why in high school I just played baseball my freshman year. Because that interfered, football. So I had to let baseball go because we had spring football practice. Yup. Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. That's why I was telling people here, man. It's hard for a kid to be a kid. It's hard for a kid to be a kid. But they didn't play. What, this happened before the game? Or during the game? That's still messed up. I remember. Hey, good morning, JJ. All right, Dwayne. Yeah, we just chopping it up, Dwayne. Oh, during the early game. That's crazy, man. That's crazy, man. That is crazy. And they wonder why sometimes parents have their kids in the house on video games and shit. Shit, it's too dangerous to let them go outside. Shit, I don't even let my daughter go outside by herself, and she's 13. And I was going outside by myself at 5 and 6 years old when I was growing up. I had my own key to get in the house. You know what I'm saying? It was safe. Now, man, you wouldn't dare do that with your kids, man. It's to a point where you have to make sure your kid's safe. You have to take them to school and pick them up from school. That's what it came down to. See, that all goes to what I was talking about. Yeah, I'll make my cousins moderator. Yeah, cuz. I'll make you a moderator, man. That means you could monitor the chat and anybody come on there that's really disrespectful. You can time them out or ban them from the chat. So type again, cuz you'll see your name in blue. Yep. There you go. So you're a moderator, cuz. Like some of the people, I let to kick them out the chat, cause you might have some people on here coming with bullshit, but I don't push them away. I accept them and respect them or whatever, man. Conversate with them, whatever. But just when they get too respectful, yeah, you get a few. Then just you got the right to kick them out, to ban them or whatever, time them out. But yeah, man, that's good. That's messed up, man. That's messed up. When kids can't be kids no more. And that's all part of the plan, man. Man, how we fail in it. And how we still brainwash. It's amazing. It's amazing. That's why you guys go on my community wall. I got a poster that's saying the biggest enemy, well, it's not the exact word, but it was just saying the strength of a black man is black men united. If we're not united, we'll never get nowhere. What's up, Ronald? We'll never get nowhere. We'll be stuck in the same place we are. You see, the plan was us to be divided. That was the plan. Yeah. Well, Ronald, the subject is old. You correct on that. The subject is old. But the plan was introduced in 1712 to how to divide the black people. Yeah, it's old. But the plan is still being played. No, Shotty can't go he can't go nowhere. He ain't got, see, I ain't gonna kick Ronald out the chat or kick Ronald away. I'm not gonna do that to Ronald. Like I say, this is not a hate channel. This is not a division channel. This is an educational channel. I'm not here to throw hate at nobody. Because Ronald is a black man just like me. So I'm not going to show hate to Ronald. I'm not going to disrespect Ronald. I have fun with Ronald. I'll roast Ronald, whatever, but I don't have nothing against Ronald. So when he come over here, I give Ronald respect. I say, what's up, Ronald? I don't say, Ronald. Nah. What's up, Ronald? You don't know me? I don't know nobody, Ronald. I don't know anybody. I don't know you. Only thing I know, Ronald, you're a brother just like me, man. You have the same obstacles that I do. You're right, I don't know you. And you don't know me. And this ain't about you or me. It's about learning from the history of how we was set up to be divided amongst each other. That's through history, through generations. That's what this about, Ronald. Because if I was about all that bullshit, Ronald, I'd kick you off my panel. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Because you're a brother like me, and I feel that you need to learn the history too. All of us do. Not just you, all of us do. We can't have buffoonery on our mind all day. I know a lot of history, Ronald. I study, I read. That's how I know. It don't matter where you're from. Shit, you can be from Canada. if you read and study, you will know. It don't matter where you're from. There probably people from the South probably know the same or more than I know. Like you can speak on more where you live at than I can because I don't live there. I don't know what's going on where you live. I can't speak on where you live, but I can speak on where I live or where I'm from. Yes, Ronald, it's not just Black history, it's history. It's American history. Yeah, goodbye. It's American history. It's not Black history, it's American history. So people keep forgetting we built this damn country. They built this country off our backs. Ronald, I never said I was from down south, bro. But my family is. My family descended from down south. Ronald, you don't have to know about Black history. You don't have to live south to know about Black history, Ronald. People, that's what I was speaking on earlier. People just want to continue to be ignorant. People want to continue to be dumb. Now, when y'all heard that Willie Lynch letter, what was his main objective? One of his objectives? To keep us ignorant. That was the main objective. That was the main way for the slave master to keep his slaves in place. To keep them ignorant. And see, this has proved my point, what I was saying earlier. Some people reject the truth. Some people don't want to hear the truth. Some people is just stuck with the lies, is comfortable with the lies. So they continue the lies. But when the truth hit them, they reject it. That's a proven example right there. See, you rather see me ridicule and talk about other people than listen to something educational. That's what you rather do. So you want to stay true to the ignorance. Then listen to the truth. There's always the time to be ignorant. Everybody like to be ignorant sometimes. You know, you know, take off their coat. They like to be ignorant, have fun. But you can't be ignorant to the truth. When you're ignorant to the truth, you do things that what's happening now. Because you fell into the trap. You fell into the plan. We've been asleep too long, people. We've been asleep too long. It's time to wake up. We have a choice. Do you want to continue to sleep or do we want to wake up? We have a choice. Like I say, it's easy to stay blind. That's the easiest thing to do. But like I said, I'm prepared for the resistance. I'm prepared. That's why I laugh. People laugh about my laugh. I'm laughing because it's funny. I laugh like that on purpose. In actuality, when I laugh, I'll just be saying, boy, if only they knew. And all that shit runs in my mind, and that's what gives me content or what to talk about. That's how I get my content. See, I stay focused on what I want to dish out. Now, if somebody put my name in their mouth and I have something to say, I will say it. I will say it without ridicule. I will say it in respect, and I will leave it alone. I'm not going to fall into the trap. If you're the type of person who want to see me do all that, then you're at the wrong place. You're at the wrong place. All I ask you to sit back, listen to what I'm saying. That's all. I'm not asking for special favors. What's up, Bio Shade? Yeah, JJ, sometimes it can be a sensitive thing because a lot of people focus on worldly shit. You know what I'm saying? Because we just here living in the world. You know what I'm saying? And what we do while we living on the world depends on where we go in afterlife, where our spirit goes. Because I always say, obey man's law as you obey my law. you know. And if you obey God's law, you're gonna obey man's law. While you living on this earth. That's why Jesus died for our sins, because he knew while we lived on this earth, we was gonna sin. You know, it's a method to the madness. See, God knew how man was gonna be. He prophesied that. He prophesied everything that's happening now. He prophesied that a long time ago, even before slavery in the United States, 1712. Even before then, he prophesied all this shit was gonna happen. So everything is happening. It was prophesied. That's why learning the truth benefits you a lot, because you come with a better understanding of why things is happening the way it is. And that's why I say I don't believe us as people in the whole would never really necessarily get back to the point where we should be, because so many people have been poisoned by what was planned to divide us. Some people was too caught up in that web to change. So they're comfortable. I know it would never happen. It would never happen. I agree. And that's what I say. It would never happen. You know, that's why I say it's not about race anymore, JJ. It's about good and evil. It's not about race. Yeah, because that's what I say, JJ. You have some good white people. You have some bad white people. You have good black people. You have bad black people. All nationalities, you got good and bad. So everything is not about race. Because we're the only country who identifies ourselves as black. The United States is the only country that find itself as black, as a color. So think about it. Black folks, Nigeria, for instance, you don't call them black. You call them Nigerians. They from West Africa, you call them West Africans. You don't call them black. We're the only country that identify us as black. When they enslaved the Israelites, they supposed to be black, right? They don't call them black. They're Israelites. They're not called black. We're the only country that calls ourselves black, a color. That's just something to think about. That's just something to think about. Feel me? That is something to think about. People, give me a second. 1 second. Yeah, it's a trip, y'all. It's a trip. Yeah. Give me 1 more second, y'all. I'm trying to make me some coffee. I need me some more coffee. Hold on, give me a second. Yeah, I take about a couple of cups of coffee a day. I just drink coffee in the morning. I don't miss, that's about it. 'Cause I know people say they drink coffee to keep them up. Shit, if I'm tired, I still go to sleep. I don't care how much coffee I drink. But yeah. yeah, Dwayne morning coffee in the mission. Yeah. Yeah. Well, JJ, one thing I can say that I could say in Chicago, that is, they got more jobs within the city than what we had when I grew up. And see, that comes with companies like Amazon and companies like that coming into the city. Because in Chicago, you have Amazon scattered all through the city, different parts of the city. So that's jobs. You know what I'm saying? But the only thing about Amazon, like I was saying earlier, like when black folks migrated from the south to the north to get jobs, them jobs had like benefits, pension plans, and all that stuff. But with these jobs they got now that they offering people within the city like Amazon, yeah, you can get a 401k, paying the 401k or something, but they don't necessarily have a pension plan. You know what I'm saying? They don't necessarily have a pension plan. As I know the Amazons here in the Chicago area, they have a policy where they can fire you for any reason because they don't have unions, so they can fire you for any reason. The only good thing I like about Amazon, you can manage your time off, but you can't go past the amount of times off that you given, or you'll get fired. Yeah, yeah. See, people also have to pay attention to that. They have to see what career or what is moving. like you say, health care and all that stuff, them stuff that's growing. People, hospitals and nursing homes, they all need healthcare employees. Because you have some people in healthcare that goes to people's homes, home care. So they need people for that. So that operation is steady growing. And believe it or not, some of them hospital turnover rate is high. If you have the qualifications, and probably a good work history, you can get hired in healthcare. So healthcare is one of the booming things that's going on right now. Yeah. And JJ, that's what I was speaking earlier. Because I said the federal government give every state a certain amount of money for whatever programs they have going on in their states. But it's up to the local government to use that money wisely, how they, for what they got it for. And like in some of these states, a lot of these politicians took, some probably pocketed or something else. All the money didn't go to what's supposed to. That's why you find some of these cities and states always ask for more money. Because everybody, every state get money for whatever program they running. Healthcare, all that. They get money from the federal government. But it's up to that local government to put that money where it's supposed to go. Then, goes on down the line. So it ain't like the federal government is not giving them money for whatever program they got going on. The question is the local government putting that money in the proper place? Is there a right to work state? I want to say I think so, JJ. I want to say I think so. Yeah, Bayou. That's why I like truck driving. Because for one, I wasn't confined in one building or space. I ain't have nobody over my shoulder. So everything depended on me, how I worked. If something went bad or whatever, it was on me. Unless, my truck broke down or something, it's not necessarily on me. Only way it's on me if I don't do the proper truck inspection, and something goes wrong where I could detect, then it's on me. But anything else, the money I make and all that depends on me. So if I choose to bullshit and not deliver my loads on time, be late to pick up my loads or whatever, and I'm not making it, that's on me because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. But if I do what I'm supposed to do, get to the customer on time, pick up the load, deliver the load on time, whenever I'm supposed to have it there, and do all that, I know I make money. So everything depended on me. So when I was truck driving, I loved that freedom too. Not having nobody over my shoulders and all that shit. Because the only time I talk to the dispatch or talk to the office, when they, I'm calling them about the information of the load I'm picking up. Or if they have something to ask me, they'll call me. But any other time, they don't have to, I don't talk to them and they don't talk to me. Because I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So they don't have no reason to talk to me unless they have a question about something.
And that was seldom. Or it wasn't about my performance. And so I found a lot of freedom in truck driving. And also truck driving benefited me because when you truck driving you over the road, all you got is highway, nothing but highway. So you got a lot of time to think, analyze a lot of stuff, get a clear mind on things. And that helped me a lot. Because sometimes you need to just sit back, just analyze your life. Get a clear mind, get a better understanding of what's happening around you or in this world. Then once you get a clear understanding, you're more open-minded. You're open-minded to new things. You're open-minded to a lot of situations that you went through. Because I learned by being on the road that I have to remember that every action calls a reaction. So I have to watch how I treat people or, how I come at people or whatever. I have to watch that because if I come at somebody negativity, they're going to come at me the same way because they're going to go by my action. If I disrespect somebody, they're going to disrespect me. They reacted off my actions. See, I was the type I always like to blame other people instead of looking at myself. Because you got to think about it. You might not be at total fault of the situation that you're in, but you have to think about why did I get in that situation? What put me in that situation? Was the decision I made put me in that situation? Maybe if I wouldn't decide to do what I did, I wouldn't be in that situation. See, I never thought about that. I just thought about that person had the nerve to do that to me or whatever, instead of looking at myself, always pointing my finger. I never looked at in the mirror and pointed at myself. What the hell you do? What the hell did you do? Not thinking that every action, cause a reaction. And that's something I learned by being on the road. Like I say, being on the road, all that helped me. Gave me an open mind, made me think about life. And even if you're not a truck driver, you need to do that. Just a whole. Because if you, per se, for example, if you go at a person with disrespect, like I said, the other person action who you disrespect gonna be the same thing that you gave them. So you can't get mad if a person react off of what you did. Because you got to think, if you never did it, the person wouldn't have had nothing to react to. Simple as that. Every action causes a reaction. Making my coffee, y'all. Excuse me, y'all. Hold on, people. Yep, so we have to be careful, man, on what we put out. We gotta be careful the type of vibe we put out. When we disrespect somebody, we can't be mad that they come back at us with disrespect. We can't be mad about it. We can't be mad at all. Because that's the energy we put out. So a person gonna react. That's 100%. As they say, that's 100. As a young used to say, that's 100. Can't get around it. Was Armando saying real motherfucker life? Every action causes a reaction. It's just not the internet. Not just YouTube. In real life. Yeah. Well, JJ, it's so funny. I laugh at a lot of this shit. Because, like I say, what's happening on the internet and what happened in this sector is nothing new. In real life, people act like the people are acting on the internet now. All who you like and all that shit, that ain't nothing new. Like I explained, like most of these games in Chicago, they ain't about the flag you fly under. It's about who you like. It's about clicks. So that's all through society now. It's just not on the internet or nothing like that. That's society now. That's because we've been so programmed to be that way. Well, Mondo, he had cut out of doing all this stuff, man. He just addressed to somebody one time and he said he's gonna leave. He said he's gonna get into other shit. He's gonna do more sports and other stuff, which I applaud. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, it can get draining. Especially if you sit around and watch this shit all day. It get draining, you get tired. Because they're not doing, some of them not doing what is designed for them to do, entertain. If you get a YouTube page, entertain. You're supposed to get people interest. You're supposed to get something to talk about. You're supposed to entertain. Wherever you into, do your job and entertain. You shouldn't have to down other people to build yourself up. And that's another one of our problems. Or people in general, I'm not just gonna say black or whatever. People, period, society. We want to tear people down to build us up. That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, me too, JJ. Me too, JJ. Sometimes you just, you come to YouTube, you use this as an escape. Use it as an escape from the real world. Because if you're a person of color, you go through some shit in the real world. I don't care what level you on. You're going to go through some shit in the real world. So you have to deal with that every day. And sometimes you just need a place to escape. You need to escape. You want to relax. You don't want to, deal with bullshit all day at work, then go home to bullshit, to watch bullshit. Why? Why? Some people didn't come to YouTube for this bullshit. Some people came to YouTube as an escape, just to relax, to be entertained. It depends on what they into. I used to go through it a lot because of stereotypes for black women. But once people knew who I was in my background, all that went out the window. Yeah. Yeah. So you have to be strong. You have to be strong within yourself. Because they will try to break you. They will try to break you. But see, everybody's not like that, JJ. And that's the problem. And that's the problem right there. Everybody's not like that. A lot of people fall for the banana in the tailpipe. And that's one thing I had to learn. And I learned that from my old man, because my old man, he kind of didn't understand it. That, some people are different, because he felt if nobody really thinks the way he thought, that they wasn't right. But, as life went on, I kind of pushed back on that theory. I pushed back that, a lot of people don't know. And a lot of people going to resist the truth. You're going to have that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that, JJ. That turns me off too. That's why I say a lot of the big donors I saw when I first came left. Well, at least this sector. That's why they left. With all the bullshit that started going on. That's why they left. And I don't blame them. Because I ain't going to donate to my money to nobody. And they doing all this stupid shit. For what? Money come too hard. To give it to somebody who's doing some fuck shit. No, money come too hard. Yeah. But see, they think all that shit was planned. If you heard the video I played, the Willie Lynch letter, you would have understood all that shit was planned to divide the slave family, the black slave family, to keep them in control. All that shit, all this shit was playing what's going on today, JJ. That was my whole point. This shit ain't just started happening. All this shit was planned. You know, the single mother household, separate the fathers for the family, all that shit. That shit was played way back in slavery time. They inputted that to the black slaves in slavery time. And it's still going on today. So all this shit was a plan. And from the Willie Lynch letter, all they did was to find another way to oppress the people. Because after they found out they couldn't use slavery, they had to find another way. But all in all, they implied it started off with that Willie Lynch letter to the slave owners in Virginia. I know that, right? Me either, JJ. I don't even gamble. If I go to Vegas or something, I take I take a few dollars to gamble with. Then if I lose that, I'm done. Money come too hard. Money come too hard. Yeah, the way I'm about to end it. I was gonna end it about an hour ago. But shit, I'm about to end it now though. See, I got to talking, man, and shit. You know how it go. Yeah, I set out a certain amount I'm gonna gamble with. Cause to me, you can't go to Vegas without gambling. You know, so I take a certain amount to gamble with. Then if I lose it, that's it. I'm not going to no ATM or putting out more money to gamble. The rest of the time while I'm there depends on how long I'm in Vegas. I'm enjoying myself. Plus, I got family in Vegas. So, when I go to Vegas, I just don't go to gamble, visit family. I got a friend that live in Vegas. She moved to Vegas. So, I go to Vegas for other things just to gamble. So, which is a good thing because I'm not a big gambler. So it helps out. It helps out. Yeah. So like I said, I want to thank everybody who came through. JJ, I appreciate you for supporting. You know what, JJ? Do you a favor. Do me a favor. I'm gonna make you a moderator, JJ. What's up, Philly Potty? What's up, bro? I was just about to get off, man, and go and check out what the brothers doing over at the takeover, man. Cause I've been on here shit over 3 hours. I spend more of my time in the desert riding forward. I know that right. That's why I say there's a lot of activities you can do in Vegas besides gamble and go to shows. Because last time I went to Vegas, I went on the tour. And they went by the Grand Canyon and all that shit. So there's a lot of things you can do in Vegas instead of just gamble. But like I say, I got family there, so but if you don't have family there, there's more things you can do in Vegas than just gamble. Yep. Yep. So thanks, JJ. Made you a moderator. Philly fighter for coming through. Go over here and see what these boys at Takeover talking about, man. Hope everybody learned something today. At least open your mind, and just have a blessed day, man. I wish nothing but love and peace to you guys, man. And that's for real. From OG Truth Talk, man. That's all I ask for you guys, man. I appreciate you. Have a nice day. May God bless. What's up, G Chill? I'm out.